What happened to the once glamorous home of Eartha Kitt? Behind the dazzling career and sultry voice was a woman who faced industry blacklisting, personal heartbreak, and a tragic end. But what was left behind when she passed? What was the true extent of her fortune? And why was her stunning Connecticut home abandoned? Join us as we uncover the secrets of Eartha Kitt's final days, the wealth she left behind, and the mystery surrounding her forgotten estate. But to truly appreciate her legacy, it's important to look back at her journey and everything she endured. Years after her passing, Eartha Kitt is finally being recognized as the legend she always was. But behind her success was a life marked by pain, abuse, hardship, and even government censorship. From her difficult beginnings to the battles she faced later in life, this is the tragic real-life story of Eartha Kitt. Eartha Kitt never knew about her origins. Some of life's most basic certainties, like knowing your parents or even your own birthday, were luxuries Eartha Kitt never had. Born Eartha Mae Keith in South Carolina in the 1920s, she was raised in deep poverty. Her early years clouded by mystery, she would spend a lifetime trying to unravel. According to her understanding, as recounted in the Telegraph, she was the result of a white plantation owner's son raping her black mother, Anna Mae. Though Anna Mae cared for her during her early years, she never revealed her daughter's birth date or the identity of her father, an absence that would haunt Kitt for the rest of her life. It wasn't until 1998, at the age of 71, that Kitt was finally able to obtain a copy of her birth certificate, a victory that came only after a long and grueling legal battle. Even then, authorities had redacted her father's name, ensuring that his identity remained a secret. As her daughter, Kitt Shapiro, later pointed out, even in the 21st century, South Carolina officials were still protecting the legacy of a white plantation owner, at the expense of the daughter he left behind. She suffered abandonment and abuse. Eartha Kitt's time with her mother, Anna Mae, was painfully brief. Anna Mae resented her daughter's lighter skin, while the outside world rejected her for her black heritage, which also included Cherokee ancestry. Caught between these two forms of discrimination, Kitt found herself isolated from an early age. Adding to the hardship, Anna Mae carried deep scars from her own abusive upbringing, which only further strained their relationship. According to The Guardian, when Anna Mae started a new relationship, she left Kitt behind. The young girl was sent to live with her Aunt Rosa, but her new home was no refuge. Instead, she endured more mistreatment, forced to pick cotton to earn her keep before she had even turned 7. During this time, Anna Mae fell gravely ill. Kitt would later suspect she had been poisoned, and Kitt was brought to see her one last time. She was just a child when she watched her mother die. Eartha Kitt's Harlem days. At just 8 years old, Eartha Mae Keith's life took another dramatic turn. After her mother's death, she was sent to live with a woman in New York City known as Aunt Marnie Kitt. In time, Eartha came to suspect that Marnie might have actually been her biological mother, though she was never able to confirm it. She took on Marnie's surname, officially becoming Eartha Kitt, and for a brief moment, it seemed like her circumstances had improved. Instead of the grueling labor she endured in South Carolina, she now had access to piano and dance lessons. She even enrolled at the New York School of Performing Arts, a far cry from her previous life in the rural South. But beneath the surface, things were far from ideal. Just like the other adults in her life, Marnie eventually became abusive. Kitt found herself trapped in a painful cycle. She would run away to escape the beatings, only to return and face more of the same. This continued until she reached her teenage years, when she finally left for good. With nowhere to go, she became homeless, taking shelter wherever she could, on rooftops, in subway stations, while working factory jobs just to survive. Family and divorce. Eartha Kitt experienced many relationships throughout her life, but she never allowed them to define her. Fiercely independent, she refused to compromise herself for any man. In fact, she found the mere idea of doing so absurd. As Vice once noted, Kitt believed that love should stem from self-love first, with two people coming together to share that foundation rather than one person bending to the will of another. While her personal life was often the subject of speculation, especially regarding her rumored relationship with the eccentric Hollywood legend Orson Welles, Kitt made it clear that intimacy wasn't the defining factor of a deep connection. "The most exciting men in my life," she once said, "have been the men who have never taken me to bed." Despite her independent outlook, Kitt did marry once. In 1960, she wed Bill McDonald, a Korean War veteran and accountant. The couple soon welcomed their daughter, Kitt McDonald, and for a moment it seemed that Kitt had found a stable family life. However, the marriage quickly unraveled. By 1963, Kitt filed for divorce on the grounds of what was then legally termed mental cruelty. According to the New York Times, McDonald didn't appear in court, but he was ordered to pay child support. It later emerged that he had been struggling with an addiction to painkillers, which had contributed to the breakdown of their marriage. After this experience, Kitt never remarried. Instead, she poured her love and energy into raising her daughter and nurturing her career, remaining unapologetically herself until the very end. Eartha Kitt was blacklisted by the CIA. By 1968, Eartha Kitt had built a reputation as a bold, outspoken performer, unafraid to challenge authority. But when she was invited to a White House luncheon, hosted by First Lady Lady Bird Johnson, she made a move that would change the course of her career forever. Furious over the Vietnam War and the devastating impact it had on young Americans, particularly black youth, who were disproportionately sent to fight, Kitt refused to sit quietly while others ignored the real issues. As she sat through the event, she listened to speech after speech from affluent white women discussing superficial topics like flower pots on the windowsills of poverty. Each time she tried to raise her hand to speak, she was ignored. Finally, unwilling to remain silent, Kitt stood on her chair and addressed the room of 41 guests directly. "I have lived in the gutters," she declared. "That's why I know what I'm talking about. You send the best of this country off to be shot and maimed. They rebel in the street. They don't want to go to school because they're going to be snatched off from their mothers to be shot in Vietnam." Her words cut through the polite, controlled atmosphere like a knife. Lady Bird Johnson, visibly shaken, reportedly burst into tears. The fallout was immediate. After Kitt left the White House, the U.S. government took swift and deliberate action against her. At the request of President Lyndon B. Johnson, the CIA compiled a dossier filled with damaging, baseless claims about her personal life. One particularly vicious accusation labeled her a sadistic nymphomaniac. This smear campaign destroyed her reputation almost overnight. Venues canceled her contracts, TV appearances dried up, and work in the U.S. became impossible. Blacklisted in her own country, Kitt had no choice but to leave. She spent years performing in Europe, where she was still celebrated, but the betrayal by her own government left a lasting scar. Despite the exile, she never apologized for speaking out. If anything, it only solidified her commitment to standing up for what she believed in: death by cancer. Despite a lifetime of hardships, Eartha Kitt remained unstoppable. Not even the CIA's smear campaign, years of exile, or the cruelty she endured in her early years could break her spirit. And as she aged, she continued to defy expectations. Her energy, charm, and razor-sharp wit never dulled. While many entertainers slow down with time, Kitt remained a force to be reckoned with, captivating audiences well into her later years. But even she couldn't outrun time forever. In 2006, at the age of 79, Kitt received devastating news. She had been diagnosed with colon cancer. True to her nature, she refused to let the disease define her. Instead of retreating from the stage, she threw herself into her work with the same fiery passion that had carried her through decades of triumph and adversity. She continued to perform at her highest level, including a triumphant return to Café Carlyle in New York City, where she dazzled audiences with the very essence of her signature style, sultry, sharp, and undeniably powerful. For 2 years, Kitt fought her battle privately, determined to keep doing what she loved. But in the end, even her formidable strength couldn't keep the illness at bay. On December 25, 2008, Eartha Kitt passed away in Weston, Connecticut, at the age of 81. Her death marked the end of an extraordinary career that spanned 6 decades, but her legacy remained as fierce and unshakable as the woman herself. Her Broadway success. Despite the hardships she endured, Eartha Kitt's talent and determination propelled her to extraordinary success. Her breakthrough came as a teenager, when, at just 16 years old, she took a leap of faith that would change her life forever. A friend dared her to audition for the Katherine Dunham Dance Company, the first African-American modern dance troupe in the U.S., and Kitt, with no formal training but an undeniable gift, impressed the panel and secured a spot. For several years, she toured the world with the company, soaking in diverse cultural influences and refining her performance skills. Eventually, she branched out on her own, stepping into the smoky, intimate world of nightclub singing. In her 20s, she made her way to Paris, where her signature blend of elegance, sensuality, and razor-sharp wit captivated audiences in exclusive cabarets. It was in one of these performances that she caught the attention of legendary filmmaker Orson Welles. Struck by her presence, he cast her as Helen of Troy in his stage adaptation of Dr. Faustus, Time Runs, famously calling her the most exciting woman in the world. From that moment on, Eartha Kitt was unstoppable. She returned to New York and dazzled on Broadway, where she cemented her reputation as a powerhouse performer. Her success extended into music, with hits like Santa Baby and I Want to Be Evil climbing the charts and becoming cultural staples. Hollywood soon took notice, and her critically acclaimed performance in Anna Lucasta earned her an Academy Award nomination. Kitt's achievements were remarkable in any era, but even more so given the time in which she rose to prominence. As a fiercely independent black woman during the height of Jim Crow, she shattered barriers in music, theater, and film, commanding space in an industry that often sought to exclude women like her. Eartha Kitt was the Catwoman of her era. Between Santa Baby, Broadway, and film, Eartha Kitt's rise to fame was groundbreaking. At a time when black women were rarely given the spotlight, she commanded every stage, airwave, and television screen she graced. But perhaps one of her most legendary roles will always be that of Catwoman in the Batman TV series of the 1960s. Kitt was the third actress to take on the role, but as Comicsverse argues, she was the one who truly left a lasting impact. Her Catwoman was sharp, seductive, and endlessly clever, electrifying every scene she was in and constantly outwitting Batman and Robin. More than just a performance, her portrayal redefined the character, setting the stage for future iterations. Her casting as a black woman in a traditionally white role was revolutionary at the time, paving the way for actresses like Halle Berry in Catwoman, 2004, and Zoe Kravitz in The Batman, 2022. But while Kitt's Catwoman remains iconic, it's just one chapter in her extraordinary legacy. Beyond her work in entertainment, she was a fearless advocate for civil rights, feminism, and sex positivity. She challenged societal norms and refused to be silenced, becoming a subversive role model in a world that often sought to diminish voices like hers. She was a lifelong advocate for civil rights. Eartha Kitt is often celebrated for her remarkable showbiz career, but her legacy extends far beyond the stage and screen. From an early age, Kitt was a passionate advocate for civil rights, using her platform to speak out against injustice. Though she wasn't particularly close to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., they exchanged letters expressing mutual admiration for each other's work. She also had ties to Malcolm X, despite having some ideological differences with him. The two once stood together at a rally organized by baseball legend Jackie Robinson following the tragic 1963 church bombing in Birmingham. Their final meeting took place just days before Malcolm X's assassination. According to the National Visionary Leadership Project, Kitt consistently leveraged her fame to push for social justice. During the 1960s, she included a clause in her contracts that strictly prohibited her from performing for segregated audiences. If she arrived at a venue and found the audience divided, she would send a busboy to integrate the crowd before taking the stage, a bold act of defiance at the time. Later in life, Kitt became a vocal supporter of LGBTQ+ rights and same-sex marriage. According to Black History in America, she used her voice to advocate for equality long before it became a widely accepted cause. Her unwavering commitment to justice and equality cemented her legacy not just as an entertainment icon, but as a fearless activist who stood up for what she believed in, no matter the cost. Eartha Kitt's overseas journey and later career. After clashing with President Lyndon B. Johnson and becoming a target of the CIA, Eartha Kitt was effectively exiled from the United States. But if the government thought they could silence her, they underestimated her resilience. Refusing to be broken, she took her talents overseas, touring more than 100 countries, performing in 12 languages, and maintaining a steady career despite the blacklist. Kitt's daughter, Kit Shapiro, even attended school in London, a place she now considers a second home. For nearly a decade, Kitt thrived abroad, but by the late 1970s, she made a triumphant return to the U.S. According to the New York Times, her comeback began on Broadway with Timbuktu, which earned her a Tony Award nomination. In a striking turn of events, President Jimmy Carter personally invited her back to the White House as an apology for how she had been treated years before. From that point on, Kitt never slowed down. She reinvented herself once again in the 1980s, embracing dance music and releasing hit club tracks. She also authored 3 autobiographies, including I'm Still Here, Confessions of a Sex Kitten, offering an unfiltered look at her life and career. Her versatility and talent continued to shine well into the 2000s. She earned a second Tony nomination for The Wild Party, a Grammy nomination for her cabaret album Back in Business, and 2 Daytime Emmy Awards for her unforgettable voice role as Yzma in The Emperor's New School. Even as she grew older, Kitt never stopped pushing boundaries. Whether through her performances, her activism, or her willingness to evolve with the times, she remained a force to be reckoned with until the very end. Eartha Kitt's net worth. At the time of her passing in 2008, Eartha Kitt had an estimated net worth of $4 million. Known for her sultry voice, magnetic stage presence, and fearless activism, she left behind a legacy that extended beyond entertainment. One that also included remarkable properties reflecting her unique style and taste. Eartha Kitt's homes. Throughout her life, Eartha Kitt's residences reflected her unique style, resilience, and ever-evolving journey as a performer. From a modest beginning in Manhattan to a sprawling estate in Beverly Hills, each home told a story of ambition, determination, and an unrelenting pursuit of comfort and beauty. In 1952, Kitt became the first Black tenant in her Upper West Side building when she began subleasing a ground-floor apartment through friends of a friend. She later recalled in her 1976 memoir, Alone with Me, that she moved in with only a studio bed and a single chair. I slept in the nearly empty apartment until I could find time to buy furniture, she wrote. Gaining approval to live in the building wasn't easy, and Kitt had to persuade the manager to let her stay. I never knew exactly what changed his mind, she admitted. It wasn't the fact that I was an entertainer. He knew my name, but he didn't know I was on Broadway or at the Blue Angel until 3 months later when he came and offered me the penthouse, where I was to live for 4 years. A penthouse with a view. By 1954, Kitt had moved into a luxurious penthouse atop a Renaissance Revival-style building at 270 Riverside Drive. Built in 1910, the limestone-clad structure stood 12 stories high and was designed by architects Rouse and Goldstone. That same year, she welcomed CBS's Person to Person into her home, giving audiences a glimpse of her New York sanctuary, a space where she found both inspiration and solitude. Beverly Hills, a home of her own. In 1957, Kitt purchased a 2.5-acre property at 1230 La Colina Drive in Beverly Hills. According to her daughter, Kit Shapiro, the estate had an unusual history. It had once been horse stables and a livery room before being converted into a residence. Someone had joined the two structures by adding a kitchen, family room, and bedrooms at one end and a bar, dressing room, master bedroom, basement office, and pool dressing room at the other, Kitt wrote in her memoir. The home's Spanish-style design, complete with terracotta roof tiles and mosaic floors, provided the perfect setting for the multifaceted entertainer. It was a place where she could escape the limelight, retreat into her love of books, and create a space entirely her own. Kitt's love for literature was evident in every home she lived in. She once described her time performing Mrs. Patterson in Chicago by saying, "I went nowhere, saw no one, and stayed in my room with my books and my thoughts." A well-stocked bookshelf was always a staple in her living spaces. She also found companionship in the many animals she surrounded herself with. Though single at the time, she filled her Beverly Hills home with an eclectic mix of pets, including dogs, cats, doves, and even 25 chickens. Over the nearly 3 decades she lived in Beverly Hills, the property continued to evolve. "I have been decorating it and modifying it to suit my own taste for more than 18 years, and I'm still not finished," she wrote in 1976. "For, unless I force myself to take a vacation, I'm seldom home more than 3 or 4 weeks at a time." A final chapter in Connecticut. In 1986, Kitt left her beloved Beverly Hills home and moved to Connecticut, where she would spend the last years of her life. Even in her later years, her homes remained an extension of her personality, elegant, warm, and uniquely her own. Marlbrook House. Another of Kitt's former homes, Marlbrook House, is a stunning estate brimming with character, history, and old-world charm. Nestled just 7 miles from Canterbury, this secluded property offers both privacy and exclusivity. Spread across 5 acres of beautifully landscaped gardens and woodlands, it provides a peaceful retreat away from the public eye. Over the years, its picturesque setting and timeless elegance have made it an ideal location for intimate gatherings, including quintessential English country weddings. 1230 Lolina Drive. Another notable residence linked to Kitt was 1230 Lolina Drive, a striking single-story home designed in the 1920s. Spanning approximately 4,592 square feet, the property once belonged to the legendary singer and performer, offering a blend of comfort and sophistication. The estate boasts an inviting outdoor space, complete with a swimming pool, an outdoor fireplace, and a terrace patio surrounded by multiple seating areas. Lush, mature landscaping, including fruit trees, adds to the property's serene ambiance. A deck overlooks the pool and backyard, while a central courtyard enhances the home's classic charm. Additionally, the estate includes a separate 1-bedroom guest cottage featuring a kitchenette and its own private yard, an ideal space for visitors or additional accommodations. These properties, much like Eartha Kitt herself, embodied elegance, individuality, and a life well lived. Eartha Kitt's home was more than just a place to live. It was a reflection of her passions, her creativity, and the sanctuary she built for herself after years of hard work. Whether through art, cooking, gardening, or simply enjoying the peace of her surroundings, Kitt infused every corner of her space with personality and warmth. A love for art was a constant in all of Kitt's homes. She carefully curated her living spaces with an ever-evolving collection, often creating striking gallery walls. One piece in particular, a portrait seen hanging above her in an old photograph, still remains in her family's possession. In a 2022 TikTok video, her daughter, Kitt Shapiro, recalled growing up with the painting in their Los Angeles home. She even revealed a personal touch on the back of the artwork, an inscription from Kitt herself, detailing how she had discovered the piece during a trip to Cuba. Kitt found joy in the simple ritual of making coffee or preparing meals, always favoring the sturdy and colorful Le Creuset cookware long before it became a household trend. She always used the heavy Le Creuset pots, Shapiro recalled in a 2015 blog post. The colorful cast-iron cookware that required 2 hands to lift it from the stove. Dark green, with wood handles. The kitchen, much like the garden, was where Kitt felt most at home, often using her harvest to create fresh, nourishing meals. By 1982, Kitt had spent decades transforming her Beverly Hills home into her personal sanctuary. In the documentary All by Myself, the Eartha Kitt story, released that same year, she spoke about the deep connection she had to her space. "She's a very comforting person, this house. I like her very much," she said, likening the home to an old friend. "This is my home. This is what I've paid my dues for. My guts are here." Kitt took immense pride in her land, growing a thriving garden filled with fresh produce. "I planted a large garden which I keep planted year-round, collard greens, beans, and all the good stuff," she wrote in her memoir, Alone with Me. "I'm a nut on organically grown vegetables and seldom buy canned or frozen." A photo from 1982 captures her beaming as she holds up citrus fruits grown on her property. With its bright red vent hood and an array of straw mats, baskets, hats, and brooms as decor, Kitt's kitchen exuded warmth and personality. If she wasn't tending to her garden, she was likely inside, preparing her freshly harvested ingredients. "If my mother couldn't be found in the vegetable garden, where she was the most at home, then she was probably in the kitchen, prepping and cooking her harvest," Shapiro shared on her blog. Kitt's home wasn't just a place for hard work. It was also a retreat where she could relax and enjoy the serenity of her surroundings. A 1982 photo captures her in the garden alongside her beloved saint, Bernard dog, surrounded by lush landscaping and winding stone paths. As Shapiro described, the property featured meandering little paths up and down the hills, adding to its charm. For Kitt, home was never just about luxury. It was about warmth, creativity, and connection. "I love my home, with its garden and chickens and pets and friends and books," she once wrote. It was the life she had built, nurtured, and cherished, a true reflection of who she was. Eartha Kitt's legacy is one of resilience, talent, and fearless advocacy. From breaking barriers in Hollywood to standing up for social justice, she refused to be silenced, even in the face of government blacklisting. Her ability to reinvent herself across decades, whether on Broadway, in music, or even in animation, proved that true icons never fade. Though she passed away in 2008, her influence still echoes in pop culture and activism today. What do you think was Eartha Kitt's most powerful moment? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. Until next time, stay tuned.